Hey, John Cristani here, and I competed in a startup incubator earlier this year, and I won over $200,000 investment in my company for 7% ownership. And for just an idea, okay, for just a product idea that I've been developing this year. If you want to learn more about that project, there's a link in the description. But let me go over, I will be going over exactly what it means. What does a startup mean? What does an incubator mean? Why would I, a multimillionaire, go through a startup incubator? And what did I learn? So I'm going to be walking through all of this step by step, as well as how you can go through the same startup incubator I went through or another startup incubator to get money to develop an idea or a product or a company you already have existing. This is a fantastic way to get started using other people's money. But first, let's go into what the heck is a startup? Why don't they just call it a company and all that jazz? A startup is a company that's set to go for hyper growth. A startup is a company that you intend to raise money for, that you need money or capital to start up, and you intend to grow it to $1 billion or more. Not all companies are startups. To give you an idea, if you start a donut shop, you might need $100,000, $50,000 to start a donut shop, but a donut shop is not considered a startup. Or you might start a business which you are using to feed through your Uber or Lyft earnings through to save on taxes. That is not a startup. There's no scalability in your personal time, effort, and labor. And the same with a donut store. A donut store is not necessarily a startup, but if you added some sort of crazy scalable, maybe it's an automated donut store that uses AI to customize everybody's donut to their liking, that might be a venture scale company. But most companies are not startups. Now, what an incubator is. Now you might be wondering, what is an incubator and why are they giving me money? Why are they giving people money? Well, an incubator is a place, usually it's a physical location where you get groups of entrepreneurs together to work on their product ideas. Some incubators, and the reason incubators give these folks money is, like me, is they give them money so that they can get early access into their growth, with the idea being that your company will be valued more and more and more as time goes on, and that incubator gets a little piece of your company in exchange for offering guidance and support. Now, the startup incubator I worked with was called Antler, and some incubators give you money to compete in their incubator and to work on your product idea, and some incubators give you money after you've actually, they make you duke it out and compete and actually win inside of the incubator and have the most promising product idea. Antler is one of the latter. Once you get accepted, 1 in 100 people will be accepted into Antler, and of those 1 in 100 people, roughly 1 in 10 will actually receive funding from Antler in order to continue to develop their ideas. Antler also provides introductions and support and advice and all this other stuff, but let's not go too deep into that. Let's go into what specifically I learned going through this process, and let's start off with why would I even do it? So obviously I don't need $200,000 to start a company, but the reason I'm starting a company, doing a startup, which is, and taking on investors early on, is because when you take on investors, you get buy-in into your product idea, and you get folks that will help you grow the company and are incentivized to see the company grow and eventually sell. A lot of companies, almost all of the billionaires in today's world have gone through, at least the tech billionaires have had investors in their company. And the great thing about having very high net worth investors in your company is that they are incentivized to see your company grow. They are incentivized for your company's stock to be worth massive amounts of money. And when you are working in the best interest and incentivized to have very rich, wealthy, well-connected folks helping you out, you end up building a company the easy way. You end up building a company that the richest and most successful folks in the world are doing whatever they can to help you with, okay? So keep that in mind and this is why I've built my next company this way. My goal is to make a sale for over $1 billion, and that will make my investors happy. So the first thing I learned about this whole industry is that the language is completely different in startup land and incubator land. The people who frankly have a huge advantage here are folks that have worked in the heights of corporate America, Boston Consulting Group, McKinsey, or Bain & Company, or the big accounting firms like Deloitte, KPMG, etc. Folks that have been really in the depth of this world. They understand the language that investors are using. Now, what sort of terminology are they using? Well, they're using, market matrix and, competitive chart and runway and commit, hard commit, soft commit, due diligence. There's all these different sorts of terms, growth and, early stage and but there's so many beneath that language. There's so much more meaning that's not spelled out explicitly. And being able to talk the language of investors is a very important skill, and frankly, they don't take you seriously unless you can talk their language of runway, competition matrix, commit, hard commit, soft commit, etc. If you don't know this language, it's a barrier, and that's something I experienced early on when I was competing in this incubator program, was that I simply didn't know the language to talk to the investors. I didn't know that they didn't want to hear about, the depth of our SEO strategy for my company, or they didn't care about, words such as intention and search intent and all this other stuff. I got too deep in the marketing aspects when I was trying to explain the business. I'm a marketer. They want to hear things a specific way. I call it B2I sales, business to investor sales. And it has a specific language that you should get to learn and know if you really want to build a company that is going to take on investors. The next thing I learned is that unbiased feedback, whenever you're creating something new, is absolutely invaluable. The software I'm creating, Advanced Pay, offers PR and ad agencies and marketing consultants a new way of finding and identifying and reaching out to influencers, to content creators to market their products. But in explaining something new, you inevitably run into the pitfall. Whenever you're creating, whenever you're inventing, you run into the pitfall of the fact that you need real people to give you feedback, and you need them to give it to you straight, not just a friend or somebody who's going to be nice to you. Now, what I experienced is that I would reach out to folks to give me feedback on the software I was creating, which was a whole new invention. Think of it like a digital creation. Maybe you've had ideas for inventions, but what would happen is that everyone I would reach out to would say, "Great idea, John, fantastic. I love the concept. This will help a lot of people. I don't have much feedback other than I think you're on the right path." And part of that is because I'd imagine that I'm a pretty influential, high-profile person, and nobody wants to tell me I'm wrong, and people I know want to generally support me in whatever way they can. But what they don't know is that and they think that hurting my feelings would be a bad thing. What they don't know is that I'm looking for raw, real, negative feedback. And that was a big sticking point early on. What I had to do to get out of this cycle of getting biased feedback was I had to reach out to folks who were completely outside of my network, who have never heard of me before, who didn't know me from Adam. I had to just do cold outreach, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of messages to people I didn't know, so that I could get a meeting with them and interview them and ask them to tell it to me straight. And by going through this process of gathering unbiased feedback, completely unbiased feedback for my product, I was able to receive amazing insight and direction as we've been developing the software to the point where we're at now, which is we're making over $60,000 a month. Now, the next unfortunate thing I learned was that unfortunately marketing is not regarded as a skill in the investment land. It's kind of looked at, sales and marketing is viewed as something you might get lucky in doing somewhere, but it's not a repeatable skill that can actually be banked on, similar to, an engineer or a programmer. Successful marketers are, frankly, not really respected as much as somebody who was working as an engineer at a large company like Google, even if they were just doing what they were told every day, which frankly makes no sense to me. But hold your horses. The reason why is because a lot of investors don't come from marketing. So if you're a marketer and you're raising money for a startup, I would highly advise you find investors that understand marketing, because those are going to be the folks that are most interested in investing in your company. Now we're raising another round for my company, and what we've found is that the folks that want to give us the money the most are folks that have actually done marketing at a company before and firsthand seen the effects, and that marketing is a science. It's not just a lucky art. Now, the last thing I earned is that prior success doesn't matter unless it's been seen by people in the investment community. Now, what do I mean by that? Now, I previously started and sold an ad agency. I started an ad agency in 2012, and I grew it to $5 million a year in revenues, highly profitable company that I was making millions off for years. And I sold that company, but I didn't have investors from the investment community on my cap table, is what the word they call, but I didn't have investors. And the thing was, because nobody from the investments community saw it, because my company wasn't listed on Crunchbase, because there weren't advisors or all this stuff, it's not viewed with the sincerity of another startup founder who may have worked at a big name company, started a startup and sold it for, even a few paltry $1 million or maybe an unknown amount, and they had real investors on board, or real investors on board, meaning investors that are involved, that are actively investing in other startup companies. Now, this was something that was frustrating to me early on in growing a startup, because I thought that my success in growing a agency and selling it and having a YouTube channel that's, I'm one of the larger influencers in marketing, and also having a coaching business and an affiliate marketing business that does millions of dollars a year would speak for something to my ability to generate revenues and to create companies that operate well. Now, unfortunately, it didn't help at all. It didn't matter that I had a company that was making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month without my direct involvement. And this is just kind of a conundrum that I didn't understand when going through this whole scene. What mattered more to investors was being able to speak the language and getting introductions from folks like Antler or other friends that I knew that could introduce me to investors for our subsequent rounds. Now, if you're looking to get money to develop your company, your idea, your product, whatever it is you're doing, I think you're super smart and you're in the right place, because the fact of the matter is using OPM, which is other people's money, is the absolute best decision you can make when starting a company. In fact, it's what all of the intelligent people do when starting a company. Elon Musk, when he bought Twitter, I don't know if he used any of his own money. He used a boatload of other people's money, of other companies' money, everything. You know, Bill Gates started his company using other people's money. Elon Musk has started all of his companies using other people's money. Okay, Mark Zuckerberg started a company using other people's money. Sergey Brin and Larry Page used other people's money. And all of the most successful self-made billionaires in the world have used other and actively use other people's money to build. Using other people's money allows you to take greater risks, and it allows you to grow faster, especially if you bring on smart investors who are going to be vested in your success. Now, the best way to do that is to go through a startup incubator. If you don't know all of these things, the language, the process, you haven't done it before, and you don't have friends who have done it before, is go through a startup incubator. Now, there's a number of startup incubators. You can just Google startup incubators, but the one I'll recommend, and the one I went through, and the one who really taught me what I call the big leagues of business, which is what starting a venture capital backed company means, was Antler.co. And I'll be including a link to them in the description. What you can do is you can apply to go through their incubator, even if you just have a loose product idea. Maybe your product idea is, I'm gonna create a website that allows people to search for mortgages, and I'm gonna be an affiliate for mortgage companies. It can be that simple, right? You have to have some sort of unique take on whatever that market is. Maybe you're, whatever the product idea is. I'm gonna take people can submit pictures to their gardens, and we'll recommend plants and make affiliate commissions off of selling plant seeds. Whatever it is, right? You can apply to go through Antler and get accepted in. And once you're there, what's great about it is you're working with other very hard charging 1%er entrepreneurs to build a company for 2 months in person, in a singular location. It is the gauntlet. It is the big leagues of business. And it allows you to create for yourself a network of other very smart, ambitious, hard-charging, highly intelligent folks. And it also allows you access to get a lot of money and investor connections and a vested interest in your success as you grow to $1 billion. Thank you for watching, and let me know what questions you have about this. It was a very crazy experience I went through, taking 2 months off. I'm happy to answer any questions down below. Put down a like if you enjoyed this video. Make sure you subscribe if you want to see other videos. I talk mainly about how to make money online with marketing. So on this channel, I show you how to grow your business, how to get customers, and how to do so profitably. And that's how I've made my money. I've made over $20 million working on the internet, selling other people's products and my own products, because I'm very good with using the internets, right? It's very easy. So subscribe, check out some of my other videos, and I look forward to seeing you in the future and answering all of your questions. Have a great day. Bye.